I'm here with I Shove Lucie. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey guys, my name is I Shove Lucie from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I skate with Red Stick Roller Derby and have skated with them for 6.5 years now.
Awesome. So, when did you fall head over skates for Derby?
It was the summer of 2014. I had graduated from college in a really small town in Northwest Louisiana. And so I moved to Baton Rouge to go to grad school for archaeology. And I didn't really know anyone. I grew up in Baton Rouge, but, people change and relationships change. Well, I moved back and an old friend said, "Hey, I'm the fresh meat coach. Why don't you come try out?" And I was like, "Roller derby? Like, that's so scary. I don't know how to
For real?
skate." And I mean, I was like legit drunk baby giraffe on skates. And I went there. We were at the Leo's roller rink, and I just was like, this feels really good to like, I don't know what I'm doing. Everything hurts, but this
Yes.
feels right. This feels
Right.
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Isn't that awesome? Did you play sports before Derby, or was this like your?
Well, I did play sports. I grew up playing soccer, but I was always very mediocre. But I always loved being active.
Mhm.
I'd do my little summer camp things. I would try, football and kickball and soccer and try and run around. I was never super athletic,
Mhm.
but I
Sounds
just,
like you were.
well, I guess I wouldn't say I was because I had, siblings who were like superstar athletes. And I was like, let me just watch anime and,
Yeah.
read a book. But when I got into college, I started working out more and I wanted to keep up that level of fitness when I got to grad school. Thank God for Derby.
Yes. Awesome. You kind of talked about it a little bit, but how does Derby make you feel?
That's a really complicated question because my relationship with Derby is like a real relationship. It has its ups and its downs, but honestly, I
Yes.
can say that it has been such a positive force in my life. I strongly believe that I would not be the person I am today if I hadn't had the courage in that, June of 2014 to go and do something that I thought was really scary and all these scary people who were super strong. I, have had times when I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm done, but I'm never really done because I still have so much more to give towards this sport, towards my teammates. And in return, it gives me so, so, so much.
Absolutely. I'm always done. That's always my last season. This is my last
Yeah.
season. 12 seasons later, I'm like, no, this one. This is my last season. But then you have like a goal. Like I wanted to play international. I wanted to do other things. So then you're like, okay, well, maybe next season when I get to do this, that'll be my last season. And it just never is.
Yep. So
So,
you
how was your first date with Derby? Whether it be the first practice or your first bout or both?
okay. Well, going back to my first practice, I
Yes.
was intimidated as heck because the fresh meat coach was my roommate, and it was me and another girl who we were living with him at the time, and we also were trying derby. We both fell in love. We were so sore, so tired, but we were pumped. We're like, this is awesome. I don't know how to do anything, but I am gonna throw myself into it. And we both kept with it, and we graduated. And by the time that we got to our first bout, I think it was September 2014, we were playing the Acadiana Roller Girls out of Lafayette, Louisiana. And I still remember that bout. I was so, so nervous. I was wearing my lucky Batman socks with capes. I didn't even have a jersey. I had just a purple t-shirt I had ripped the sleeves off of that said shove 5R in like messy handwriting. And like playing that game, I got 5 penalties, and I was so proud of myself because I was like, I did something. I knocked
Yes.
someone down. My jammer got through. And like looking at photos of that, I was, with my little mouth garden and matching helmet, I was elated. And I was like, I want to keep doing this. I want more. I want to get better. Eventually, I want to get 0 penalties. So,
Yes.
6 years later, 6.5 years later, here I am.
Absolutely. So, how was your first year? like when you started? What did you start with? Did you have to borrow anything?
I was very lucky because our league was able to, people had a lot of great advice and were willing to share and be like, okay, go ahead. These are the kind of knee pads you're going to need to get. We recommend these kind of skates. If I ever need, I left an elbow pad or a helmet, somebody usually had something to loan me. I started with some basic Rydell skates that, with a nylon plate and my, little gummy wheels, poison wheels. Um, and it was a good year because I, was getting into my equipment, kind of learning what was working, what wasn't. And the whole time I was surrounded by a group of skaters, of men and women and in between, and just people who were so supportive. Here I'm at the bottom tier. You have the Capital Defenders, or our B team, and then you have the A team. And the A team, they were goddesses. That was what you aspired to. And I remember just seeing them skating and being like, I'll be there one day.
Yeah.
I get to do that. And I didn't even I made CDs, but we didn't have home teams at the time. But that was such a great time because I learned so much, especially surrounded by this great community. I definitely fell on my butt. I bruised my tailbone,
Yeah.
fell on my knees, things like that. But they were always there to help me back up. And I loved that.
Yes. That is a great feeling. It's what do they say? They push you until you push
Yes.
back, and then
Yes.
they're proud of you for doing that. They're like, yes, you finally knock my derby wife. The first good hit that I got, where I got the air knocked out of me, where I was second guessing, like, do I really want to do this? Like,
Yeah.
she got me on a corner and I flew and I hit this wall because we had a really small venue at that time. And I remember I was like, trying to, and getting back up and trying to skate it off. And so I married her because she was my vendetta. Like, I was going to knock her on her ass, like, really good one day. And I did. One day during a bout, like, it was already like mid-season. We were already like, it took me a while, but one day she wasn't looking and we were on different teams.
Yeah.
And I saw my chance and I knocked her flat, like Superman, like
Yeah.
on her stomach. And I turned around and looked at her and I was jamming and she gave me a thumbs up. And that's what derby is. It was home teams at that time, right? And it's amazing. They're proud of you. Yes, you got me. Like, you knocked me down. And it's beautiful. I don't know a lot of people who would understand that, but it is beautiful.
No, I definitely get you. And the funny thing is, thinking about that first year, I had an issue with saying I'm sorry every time I
Oh,
hit
I still
the
do that.
fell down. And it got
Uh-huh.
to the point that one of my teammates, Cricket, said, Shove, if you say sorry one more time, I'm gonna punch you. And it took Cricket punching me. I think she got me in the shoulder. And I just was like, that
Yeah,
I finally learned that this is a contact sport. Yeah, you're going to hit someone, but it doesn't mean you hate them. And,
right.
I still, people make fun of me because there's sometimes I'm like, oh, I didn't mean to hit you so hard. You went into a wall, but it happens.
I
But
can be handsy sometimes. And so, like, I apologize when, like, bad habits come out and I'm like, put my hand out and they're like, and I'm sorry. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm still apologizing. Like, it's
Well,
crazy. So, what are you wearing now? Wheels, skates, whatever. What's your fave? Or what do you suggest to people when they ask you?
so I got a cat in my face. When I'm thinking about, like, when people are asking me for advice, the first thing I tell them is do not skimp on safety gear. I have been very lucky, but I have had a concussion, I think maybe two. And I was very lucky that I had a good, safe helmet. But I know people, good skaters, who have not had safety gear that has been, and I'm not saying splurge, I'm just saying use something safe,
Right.
and I know someone, a great skater, who had the doctor say, if you get one more concussion, you're going to have permanent brain damage. So I'm always telling people, have good safety gear, wear your helmet. It doesn't matter if you think you're the best skater ever. You can't predict everything, especially if you're going backwards. So
Yes.
if I had to tell people, it's don't skimp on your safety gear. And if you're looking for a pair of skates, go for comfort, and don't think you need to spend $5,000 on a plate, but it's probably going to do you better to get a metal plate and not a nylon, especially if you want to continue with it, because those nylon plates have a tendency to break. So usually it's the safety gear, and then investing in a nice pair of skates. And for the love of God, everything in heaven, I cannot say this enough, trying to get people not to drag their toe stop. I see this at the skate park. I see this on Reddit, and my heart panics because I'm like,
Are you talking about
please,
dragging the
that is
foot
not,
this way?
yeah, dragging the foot. And they're just like, oh, this is great. I literally, when I coach Derby 101, I have made people do burpees when I've seen that. I mean, off
Yeah.
skate, of course, because it's, to me, it's very dangerous. And I know it's a hot, issue. A lot of people think it's fine, but there's so many other good ways to stop. Don't drag your toe stop. That's like my
It's
pet
a
peeve.
bad habit. Yeah, it's a bad habit. I would do that. I used to do that. I would do that when I would drop into a bowl. Like I thought it was gonna like slow me down a little bit, like because I would get a little nervous and like I would make everybody nervous because I drop in and I drag this foot in,
Yeah,
and luckily I didn't break an ankle.
yeah.
It's just
Thank you.
like a safety thing. So what skates do you use now? What do you
I
use?
am very lucky. I have a pair of custom AR2s. I got that in November of 2019, and I absolutely love them. I still have my AR ones, but I ended up getting about a half size too big. And so with
Okay.
these, I size down, and it's like skating on a cloud. I do prefer the high ankle skates, not for ankle stability, but I just like the way they feel.
Mhm.
And I can't think of the plate that I have, but I think it was just like the standard plate that came with it. I typically will use that with 94 or 96 hardened wheels. I've been using Rollerbones Day of the Dead wheels, which has been pretty
Nice.
great for our warehouse. We have a unfinished concrete floor, so it's been pretty nice. But usually that's my setup, and if I'm doing outdoor skating, which I'm doing 95% of the time, I've been using those. I'm not sure if it's Rydell, but they're the donut wheels, the little pink donut wheels.
Mhm.
Love those, and then Atom
Okay.
pulses. Especially when we do parades, you got to have something gummy. You got to have
Yeah.
something. So when you're downtown Baton Rouge and there's gravel everywhere, the gummier the better. As a person who has tripped and fallen and skinned the crappity out of their leg, definitely need to have good gummy wheels and safety gear on.
Yes. It just helps you. And it also gives me more confidence when I want to try like jumping a curb or,
Yeah.
doing something special.
Yeah.
Um, so let's talk about that. We talked about the ups and downs in Derby. Has there been any Derby injuries, or has roller derby ever broken your heart?
Unfortunately, twice. Well, physically, I have had some knee issues. I had in my right knee a partial tear of my PCL that took me out of action for a while. Actually, there's a picture of me, and we were at a tournament in Dallas, Texas, and there's a picture of me on the bench, and I mean, I had just been weeping because my team was out there and they needed me, and I couldn't skate. I wasn't safe to skate. And so they said, okay, shove your bench. And I hate that photo because I see
Yeah.
it and I'm given this like photo, and in my eyes, you can see the anger and the pain because I felt like I let my team down because I
That's
pushed myself so far without resting. And I think that also that injury is tied in with that heartbreak, because one thing you'll hear a lot about is with skaters is when they get injured, they feel like a failure, or they feel like, they're going to push themselves to get back in. And if I have any recommendations for skaters who are starting out, if you get injured, please take the time to heal your body.
yes, good
I
advice.
I did not on my right knee and I ended up damaging my ACL. I made it worse because I put so much pressure on myself and thought I was getting pressure from my league when all they really wanted me was to take care of myself, because you are the best version of yourself when you're healthy mentally and physically. And that's going to take time. So, if I could go back, I definitely would rest more and just, invest in our league in other ways, and volunteering to NSO, helping to train off skates, timing drills, things like that, but just really pushing myself too hard. And I think that's another part of why I love this sport, is because it makes me want to push myself so hard. But my captain, Danae Palm Death, told me something very important before we went to our first really big tournament. She said, Shove, I wish that you would have the courage to let yourself rest and heal. And it struck me because I was just like, oh my gosh, like, I had been pushing myself so hard, I passed out at practice. We're in an unventilated warehouse in Louisiana, July. It's probably 107 in there. And I had just gotten over the flu. And just telling me to take that love to myself was such a powerful moment for me. And, that's why I will keep doing that for myself and taking the steps back that I need to, so I can be the better athlete for my team that I love so much.
Yes. One thing, after being in Derby for so many years, like you and I have, we know right now it's on pause, but it's not going anywhere. I've had people, stop for school, stop because for whatever reason, for healing, physically, emotionally, whatever. I took a break when I went into recovery, and I would ref. I refed for 2 seasons because I was
That's awesome.
doing that, for me. And everybody respected it. People understand I'm moving right now. I'm not going to be making practices. We do have a life, even though Derby is life, and things happen. It's beautiful. I think we are hard on ourselves when it comes to like feeling like we let our team down.
Yeah.
But that was one of the reasons why I went into recovery. And in my book, I talk about how our opening day, I ended up not being able to perform, and I had to bench myself the entire game.
But I think it's the mark of a truly great league when your teammates can look at you and respect the choices that you are making outside of Derby and be like, you know what? If this is going to help you be healthy mentally, physically, emotionally, then do it. That is the mark of a league that respects you as a person and not just as a team skater. So
Yes.
I mean, that's why I'm so lucky to be with Red State, because they do have that. They have been, able to let me rest, if not be like, Shove, sit your ass
Make
out,
you rest. That tough love, yes. And if you're not with a league who cares about your well-being, you might want to look for one, because not all are the same. Has there ever been a time, well, we kind of just talked about that Derby was out of balance. So that's what we're talking about, where we're just pushing ourselves. Has it affected you any other ways where we've put Derby first?
Yes. So when I started Derby in 2014, I had just graduated from college, and I said, okay, I can, I'm going to go to grad school, and I went to LSU to get a master's in archaeology. So I was working on my master's at this point, archaeology here. And how it started out is that I was focusing more on school, but eventually I, joined the CDs, and then I joined our home teams. I was on the Mid-City Mafia. Then I eventually got on the A team, and I started prioritizing Derby over my education. While I was able to graduate in 2017, I know that my academic life did suffer because I put so much into Derby, and I don't regret the choices that I made. But anytime, especially with a newer skater who's like, hey, I just can't make practice, I've got deadlines, I say, look, you don't owe anyone an explanation. Derby will always be here. but you have only a finite time right now when you're in school to get this done. And I
Right.
don't want anyone else to have to deal with that stress of being like, you know what, I could have been better academically if I hadn't, not studied for this exam because I wanted to go to a 3-hour practice.
Mhm.
So I'm always trying to tell younger skaters, heck, even skaters who are just starting school, focus on school. Derby isn't going anywhere. Focus on that and keep that in a higher priority.
Absolutely. No, you're so right. And it's fun and it just overtakes you. That's why I call it my derby romance, because you just
Yeah,
want to do derby all the time. It's like
it's a
this just new
whirlwind.
relationship. Yeah. And it makes you feel so good.
Mhm.
So let's talk about your alter ego. How, how did that birth itself?
So my derby name is I Shove Lucie. And uh, Lucie is actually my first name and my mother's first name. And,
Awesome.
but I've never gone by Lucie. I've always gone by Rivers. It's just that, I mean, no one in my family even calls me Lucie. And I remember where I was looking in between I Shove Lucie and, some stupid like archaeology name. But it just seemed to fit because at the time I was, doing archaeology and I was doing all these digs. And so people started calling me Shovels because I would carry
Nice.
shovels and I would, when they'd be at practice, I'm like, oh, I got to be on a field survey at 6 a.m., and I'm like, look at these calluses from shoveling so much. And it just kind of fit. And so they only have a few people who mess with me and they'll call me Lucy. I just usually hit them and stay away.
Yeah. Your own.
Yeah. So that's how that came about. Yeah.
Did you ever feel like you lost her? I Shove Lucie and you had to find her again?
Yes. So I had an issue with my meniscus in my left knee. Um, and I was frustrated because I had been on the All Stars and I felt like, I needed to take a break. So I switched over to coaching our Derby 101. And I did that for about 2 years and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But it made that competitive, I'm going to literally shove you out of the way. It made that person kind of go in the background because I needed to focus on building up and coaching these skaters to be, safe out there, to be confident in their own skills and to be part of our derby community. I was really, really lucky to meet so many great people with that, but they got to know, the people I coached got to know a different shove than the people that I had played with. And it just felt strange because I missed contact with people, but I also enjoyed this new role. And I really had to reevaluate where I wanted my relationship with Derby to go. Would I be content to watch my teammates, move up the Wolf Ditto ranks without me? Because they definitely could. They don't need me out there. But I was like, am I going to be content to do that? So that was definitely a battle that I had to figure out who Shove really wanted to be on, in the red stick roller derby world.
Yeah, it's nice to be like big sister and teach, but
Yeah.
it's also nice to be out there on the
Yeah.
track. So yeah, that is tough. Um, have you been to did you do Running of the Bulls? I know it's near
I
you.
did. I did. I love running the bulls. I did it 4 different years. There were 2 years
Nice.
that I couldn't do it. I've never been one who's just like, I'm going to be super, super scandalous, but I love the athleticism of it. And honestly, I think I got a little too aggressive because I had dent
Perfect.
marks in my bat. And people, they'd just be like, "Ooh, come and hit me, sexy lady." And I'm like, I'd look at them and be like, "I'm sorry, I only hit attractive people," and just stay away, you know. But I really enjoyed that, and I got to meet so many people from different leagues who kind of all
Yeah,
congregated.
how
Um,
fun.
Yeah, and it was a really great time. I'm not a huge partier,
Yeah.
but there were a lot of, especially in like that the running of the bulls after party. There's a
Mhm.
lot of different things you could do, and I was always so impressed with the ingenuity of the costumes people came out with.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
like Delirium Trigger. I don't know if you know who that is out of Texas. She had been with Big Easy and then went over to Texas Roller Girls. Every single year had an absolutely incredible costume. Like,
Mm.
this is like cosplay great. And just seeing the personality come out from, my teammates who participated, but also just all these people, I just loved that. I mean, here
Yeah,
I
the
am. I'm
energy.
just like, I'm going to glue some flowers on my horns and hit people with a bat. But they
Yeah.
had people who like had smoke coming out and
Wow.
prosthetics. I'm like,
I'd love to see that.
yeah,
Have
I
you
mean,
done RollerCon?
I am not. Um, that is something that's, on my bucket list, but I've been working or I just haven't been able to afford it. So
Yeah.
one of these days I'm going to be able to go because I think
Yes.
it's such a wonderful experience for people, with all the workshops and the
So
availability
much, dude.
here. And
Hmm.
it sounds like you've been definite. Have you?
Yeah. Yeah. But it was a long time ago. I know it's grown since then. I went in 2011. So I hear stories now. I haven't been able to go back since. I want to, maybe the next time that we can. I would love to go. But it sounds like the same energy that you get from running of the bulls, where you're just able to see like a sea of people that are like cut from the same cloth as yourself. And you're just like, this is my tribe. These are my people. It's just so
Yeah.
cool. We did a small running of the bulls in El Paso, and it's this shirt that I'm wearing, and I wore red to support your team. And yes, of course. And it was a lot of fun. I saw a lot of different horns people did. So it was a smaller version of what you were saying. It sounds super excited. I'd love to go to. Where is it held?
So it's in New Orleans.
Okay, New Orleans.
And they usually have some like block out a few hotel suits and bikinis and anything that you feel comfortable with. I mean, it is New Orleans. Can you
Yes.
still see me? Okay, my
Yeah,
internet.
there was a part where you were like glitching a little bit. So if you
Yeah,
can say that again,
yeah.
you were talking about what they were wearing.
Usually, they have people who are like wearing kind of some scandalous stuff, but
Nice.
power to them. It's
Yeah.
usually hot as
Yeah.
balls out there. So if they want to feel sexy and beautiful and powerful and whatever they want to wear, I'm like, power to you. I'm just
Yes.
like, I one time wore a bikini top and I'm like, oh, I'm so dangerous.
Yeah. No, I would be the same way because I'm real like I always wear when we would wear the short shorts, I always wore tights. Like it was never just like my skin.
Rink rash is a real problem.
It really is. And I've saved a lot of skin, even just getting like raspberries on me, even though I had a couple of pair of tights on. Plus it gets cold sometimes during the season and I'm not
Oh,
wearing shorts.
oh
Like
man, I wish I had that problem. I'll say that now.
what have been some of your biggest obstacles with Derby? We talk about schedules, we talk about time, but is there anything else that has come between you and your relationship with roller derby?
Well, the two things that come to mind are I right out of grad school, I worked for a company that was sending me all over the South. I was going to Kentucky, Florida, Alabama, Arkansas. I was staying in Louisiana, but I was Texas. I got to visit El Paso for a little bit, and it was actually really nice.
No,
I didn't have my
that's
kids with
cool.
me though, but I was doing some work there that really took me away from my league, so I couldn't make any of the requirements that I needed to make in order to play. And I really, really missed it. But aside from the work issue, my biggest thing, if you were asked any of my teammates, was my self confidence because I was and still am at times convinced that, I'm not going to be good enough for this. I'm not going to be able to do this. I can't do it. I'm too weak. And it's that
That was
voice
one
in
of
your head.
mine.
And the issue is like I have some of the most intense teammates who I love them, don't get me wrong, but these are people who work out 6-7 days a week. I'm talking like they do CrossFit on top of 3-hour practices, definitely intense, put everything into it, and then I'm like, let me eat a pack of Oreos after this. So of course, I'm not eating as well, but it was just hard for me, especially when I moved up to 18, because I was like, oh, I'm not that good. Like, I can't do this. Like, all these issues. And I'm actually thinking of a game, and we were up in Oregon, and we were playing a team from San Francisco. We were playing San Francisco, and we had done all this research on them. I mean, my teammate it was one of our last games. We were all beaten up. Somebody had like a broken shoulder. Somebody had a fractured nose. I was getting frustrated out there, and I got a penalty, and I went to the box, and I mean, I'm just feel like I've let my team down. I've let them down. I go out again, red 5, back
Oh God.
and I mean, I get in the death spiral,
Mhm.
where you just go down. And I remember I was literally crying in the box,
Yes.
and the NSO, without even looking down, says, red 5, it is illegal to make the NSOs upset for you. It was so sweet. I
I
went
got
till after the
chills.
game and was like, thank you. But it was that fear of I'm letting my team down and everything. And I have to give such credit to my captains. Um, that season it was Original Sin and Napalm Death. And they just sat with me and said, you know what, Shove, we're proud of you. I know this wasn't your best game, but you gave it your all. And having that community and just validating me, which is embarrassing to say that I needed that, because
No.
I felt I wasn't good enough to be there because my whole team had worked so hard. And yet I was like, I can't say that I'm part of that. So, in the 6 years, I've come a long way. I'm not apologizing every time I hit someone, but there are definite times, when I was still at practice, whenever that was, when I was like, man, they are so much better than me. I'm never going to be on that level. And I have to take a step back and say, you know what? I can get there. I just have to keep working. I still have issues where I'm like, oh my gosh, I hate you so hard. When someone goes down hard, it hurts me because I don't want to hurt someone. And it's
Right.
hard to do that when I'm one of the bigger people on my team. I'm 5'8" and I'm playing against people who are 4'11". I mean, our team motto via Twitter is tiny but mighty.
No,
So, and it's
I
hard.
like that.
Yeah, it's hard when I hit someone and they go down and there's blood all over the ground because their nose is fractured because they ran into me, or
Yeah.
something like that. And I'm getting better because I realize my teammates believe in me, that I can forgive myself and realize that, hey, when I get in that death spiral of you get a penalty, take a breather and use the time in the penalty box to calm yourself and calm that energy and then get back into the game. Because if you keep beating yourself up, which is what I tend to do, you get
Yeah.
nowhere and you really are not an asset to your team.
That is some good advice because I know when I'm sitting in the penalty box, I'm just like revving to get back in. I'm not even thinking about what I did to get in there. I'm just like, let
Yeah.
me back out there. But that's exactly the time that you need to
Yeah.
calm down.
I think
To
Freight Train had, I follow her on social media and I absolutely adore everything that she does. Um, and she had something about using the penalty box to your advantage in order to reevaluate your game, go in and take that moment to breathe and to reset. And that just
beautiful.
really resounded with me.
She's gonna be on my next in January 24th. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I love Freight Train. I
Yeah.
see that one.
Sweetest person, so knowledgeable, so strong. But that's what all this is for. We're all just sharing our experiences and our knowledge. And hopefully this will help us when we come back to have a little bit just more energy, more ideas, wiser. It's a time to maybe we're not getting wise by bouting against each other right now, but by hearing each other's stories, what helps us, what hurts us, and so on. So have you and Derby ever broken up?
Been very close. I think the closest that I had was when I decided to go ahead and coach instead and, take a step back. I at the time had was having disagreements with some of our, team leaders. And, as I look back on that, I can definitely see where I think I needed to be more flexible and understanding, and I see where our relationship broke down. And ultimately what almost got Derby and I to break up was me. It was my own insecurities. I'm like, you know what? I'm never going to be good enough. I'm always fighting with people. I'm always sucking. I'm always going down. That
Mm,
that's what almost broke it. But what made me fall back in love was Team Louisiana 2019 tryouts.
mm,
I was like, man, Team Louisiana is so good. Like, I don't think I can do this, but I'm just going to do it. I'm going to challenge myself.
good for
And
you.
meeting skaters from all over the state, from different backgrounds, different skating skills, who just like had all these different stories that I got to learn was so incredibly wonderful. And I definitely credit that team and the leadership that we have with helping me rediscover my love for Derby, but also help me, continue on my path of self growth and realizing you make a mistake, forgive yourself and learn from it. Don't continue to beat yourself up. And, I look back on some of that footage from Botus, and I had one heck of a time. It was fun, both in 2019 and 2020. I can see my growth,
That's
as a
amazing.
skater. I look back and there's some footage, you can see my face, and I'm just like, freaking out. At one point, I'm the only blocker on the track, and I'm just like, okay, Ohio is going to kill me, but let's go. And I had fun. Yeah, I didn't get the jammer, but that was fine. I still got to, play around a little bit. But so I'm so thankful for taking a risk and trying out for Team Louisiana, because that's what really helped me from saying sayonara to Derby forever.
Right. That's good. And I'm glad. I'm glad you had that experience and that you're still
Yeah.
in 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 a romance with Derby. I had to remember to have fun. It is something
Yeah.
that we do forget. We're hard on ourselves, like you say.
Yeah.
We don't feel good enough. We feel like we have to live up to something also, especially the name on our back, like Harley Hitter, like I need to go out there and hit somebody and, shove somebody, right?
Yeah.
But
And especially in like, as you get more competitive, that's when it gets harder to be like, you know what? I'm paying to do this. I am paying to have fun, because it starts, the intensity ramps up. And I know with Red Stick, we have been really, really, really pushing, to get up the rankings. And, that was really realized when we were invited to, I'm not sure if they call it the championships game, but it's like the first level. And we got to play San Francisco. And I'm just like we got to play Ariella or Jammer, just absolutely fantastic, a joy to skate with. And, we're pushing ourselves up there. I think we ended our 2019 season within the top 70 leagues in the world. And so incredibly proud of everyone and how much effort we put in. And there are times that we have to take a step back and be like, you know what? It's okay to realize, hey, this is not, I'm not in the best mental place tonight. I'm going to take a break. It's okay to, have an off night, and that this is ultimately something we do to benefit ourselves and makes us happy. And when it ceases to make us happy and becomes a burden, that's when you need to reevaluate the relationship.
I completely believe in that. This should not cause the stress in our life. Usually we found Derby so that we can escape something. And
Yes.
when it's not our escape anymore, then something, yeah,
Yeah.
please reevaluate. Yeah, that's beautiful advice. Where's Derby moment?
So worst Derby moment was thankfully at a practice and it was my second year, and I had gotten these nice bright leggings, and it was the one practice where I decided I don't need to wear underwear. So I'm, going around lane 2, and I get a hit, and I go down and get back up, and I, I'm chasing after a jammer, and all of a sudden it's like, "Shove your pants," and I had ripped a hole in the ass of my pants. But it took people a second to realize that I wasn't wearing underwear because my pants was so white. They thought I was wearing white underwear. And so I just got dragged on that. People were so nice. Someone immediately gave me a hoodie to, put over my pants, but I learned a very important lesson that day is don't just wear underwear. Just wear underwear.
That's awesome. Yeah, it happens. It happens.
Yeah.
Or even our underwear aren't really underwear. They're just a little piece of fabric.
Yeah.
I do see a lot of underwear through black leggings where we feel like, right? They're black leggings. Why can you see my underwear through them? I don't get it. Like,
it's the flash on the cameras.
The flash.
And I was literally working out with a friend of mine, and she's like, "Those are not squat proof," because I was wearing a Pivot Star, and then my granny panties underneath. But the only pants that I've found that you can't see the underwear are the CVG leggings. This isn't an ad or anything. I own like maybe one pair, but they, those are the ones that like you can't see my panty lines, because I am not going to wear a thong when I'm skating. Power to all the people who do, but I'm just like, mm-mm.
Yeah. There's enough going on between the legs and whatnot. Yeah. What is your best derby moment?
Best derby moment?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this is a hard one. I think this goes back to, and I'm kicking myself that I can't remember the name, but we were up in Oregon, and it was like the D2 championships, and we played North Star and San Francisco, and in the North Star game we didn't win. However, no one expected us to do that well, and they people didn't understand why are they cheering, why are they so proud of themselves. And it was the fact that like we played our hearts out. Our jammers and pivots have been practicing for a month to develop this relationship where it was just seamless passes. Our blockers had been working on plays, and we got to do that. Yeah, we were outmatched, a little bit, but we scored points on them, and they got mad. They were not happy with us at that point because they didn't expect it. They didn't expect that this tiny little team was going to be able to score any points on them. And so
you make them work.
Yeah. And I was so proud of everyone because we knew that to us, we had won, and getting to be a part of that was wonderful. And I just was so proud of how we, were able to celebrate our victory, even though we didn't have all the points we wanted on the board.
That's it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can feel like you won even without the win.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. So how are you coping with the pandemic right now and not being able to go out and do these wonderful things that we just have been talking about this whole time?
Well, the months, the two month and a half that we were, in our 2020 season, Red Stick was ready to go. We had 3 to 4 practices a week, 3 hours at a time, off skates training. We had, definitive plays that we were running. We were all pushing ourselves so hard. And then we had a game against Houston, and it never happened. And it was just like you go from this high intensity to nothing. And it's been very hard because it's almost like you lost a piece of yourself. And for so long, people were like, "Oh yeah, hey, that's Shove," that I forgot who Rivers was for a bit, because it was like, Rivers plays roller derby. she's known as Shove. And then suddenly it was like, well, I used to, but now we're on hiatus.
Mhm.
And it's been hard because obviously you want to hit people, you want to skate with people, but
Yeah.
I've been really pushing myself into doing some weight training with a friend of mine. I work from home and she works from home. And so we're in each other's bubble. And so, we do all COVID safe, practices. But if I wasn't able to go and lift weights and throw things, I don't know what I would do. I have been able to, focus a lot more on other hobbies, but it's still this lingering pain because I missed something that was so integral to me. I mean, heck, even my cats were really confused for a month or two because they're like, "Why are you here with us? You're usually gone from close 7 to 10:30 3 nights a week." So, they had to get used to that schedule again. But I've been doing lots of trail skating, lots of different types of working out, yoga, kickboxing, powerlifting, regular weightlifting. I tried to get into doing handstands and then I realized I'm a coward and more comfortable not doing handstands, trying new things. And I am so thankful for that opportunity to get to do that.
I'm definitely trying to work on those handstands myself. Just what's the easiest way to get into this and trying to get those. Oh, yes, I'm with you. So, are there any words of encouragement that you'd like to give to our fellow skaters that are watching?
Yeah. Quick thing. Do you need me to turn on a light? I know I can see how dark it is now.
It looks nice because you're glowing.
Oh, I'm always glowing.
Yes, you're glowing.
Yeah.
It looks amazing. I think you look good. I like it.
Okay. I just want to. If I had to give words of advice to people, it's that you need to forgive yourself and be okay with if you're realizing, you know what, my path with Derby, maybe this is it. But also, it's Derby's coming back. It will be back. We don't know when. And it's okay if you need to take a break until then, or you decide, you're not ready to come back. But I think that this pandemic has a real opportunity to allow skaters around the world to develop independently of Derby so that when we come back, it's going to be so much more dynamic than it was before. We're going to have skaters who've been at the top of their field, they might retire. And then you're going to have skaters who, maybe they had opportunities to work on jam skating that they can then add onto the track when it comes back. And they're going to rise the ranks. This is an equalizer for so many people. And it's really up to us about how we want to use this time. Are we going to let it, decide, hey, I'm going to hang up my skates, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Or are we going to be like, you know what, I'm going to keep skating because life is better on 8 wheels. And when Derby comes back, I'm going to be ready. It's up to you, and whatever you choose, as long as it makes you happy, that's good.
We support it. We definitely support it. That's awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for letting me interview you and being on the show. I'm super grateful.
This was a pleasure. I mean, I got to put on my jersey one time, and you know what? It brought back all those feelings of bout day ready. I didn't put on my lipstick or anything, but I'm going to go and do an outdoor skate after this. And it brought back, this was such a great opportunity for me to bring back those memories and get excited again. If you can't tell, I'm pretty excited.
I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful. And I didn't know what kind of impact this was going to be, but I had it like on my heart to do. And I was overwhelmed by the community and people that don't know me willing to do this with me. So thank you so very much. I do appreciate it.
Well, you're giving people such a great opportunity to speak out and to, bless people by sharing your stories and in turn be blessed by it. So you're awesome. You're beautiful. You're strong. And I hope that one day I get to meet you on the track and see what Harley hit her feels like, when I'm trying to block against you.
So 5'8", huh?
Yeah, I mean, I'm only 5'8".
I'm like 5'2", but
I,
yes, I would love to skate with you.
I know some people who are 4'11" and 5'1" who have sent me flying. So height and weight are no indication of how good you're going to be on that track.
And that's such a beautiful thing about this sport is you're an
Yeah.
asset no matter what size you are. You're an
Yup.
asset. Yeah. Well, thank you for being on the show.
Yeah. I look forward to seeing the rest of your things that you post, and you've been wonderful.